Opponents of the zoning change that take the myopic view that because this property has been used for commercial purposes in the past, Universal Steel was grandfathered, we should now endorse zoning it B4. What rubbish. Perhaps they should expand that view and go back a few years earlier when Monroe and Arnold warehouses lined both sides of Bridge Street with buildings so high and so tightly packed that only the high summer sun penetrated to the sidewalk. Or maybe a few years earlier than that, when Swift & Company had a large meat packing plant across from Webb. This is not where we are today, and it is not where we want to go. Zoning is more than line items, tax designations, and use descriptions. Zoning is vision, and vision is about the future. Zoning is not about accommodating present-day whims or fancies or special interest. Zoning is about the weave of the fabric of the city. And this, by all appearances, is nothing but a patch on that fabric. Zoning defines not who we are as much as where we are going. And this proposal is a U-turn on progress, a return back to the last century when the hodgepodge mix of industry and housing was common in Salem. Before the enlightenment of zoning, tanners built their tanneries in their backyards. Now, we consider changes that will allow housing in business parks and plumbing supply companies in residential neighborhoods. Our values seem construed. While I firmly believe in the right of property owners to use their property as they see fit, so long as those uses are legal, I cannot endorse providing sweeping changes for one owner that will impact negatively on their neighbors. I respectfully request that you reject the demand to change the present zoning on those parcels. There is nothing that has been proposed here that warrants or cannot be accommodated by other means other than a zoning change. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Let's move to hearings.
An order from National Grid to install a conduit on Derby and Central Street.
Hearing in favor?
Sabita Mahavira, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. This is to provide service, upgraded service, to the property at 311 Derby.
Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Timetable? Tell me you're not going to do a term in October.
No.
Oh, good. November 2nd would be good.
Okay, I'll put that in.
That's fine. No further questions.
Any other questions from members of City Council? Any members, anybody in the room want to speak in favor of this? Seeing none, would anybody here want to speak in opposition? Again, seeing none. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the hearing be closed.
Councilor McCarthy moves the public hearing be closed. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Councilor McCarthy.
I further move that the petition be granted.
Councilor McCarthy moves this be granted. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further hearings.
We have a request from Domino's located at 4 Canal Street for extended hours of operation. Requested hours will be until 1 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and until 2 a.m. Friday through Saturday.
Hearing from Domino's. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jeannie Cashman. I'm supervisor for Domino's on Canal Street. It was supposed to be 2 a.m. for every night was the extended hours. Did I hear you say 1 a.m.?
That's what we have in the petition.
This is right here. 1 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and 2 a.m. Friday through Saturday.
Yeah, we requested 2 a.m. every day of the week. It's been currently, right now, it's from 1996 until now, it's been 10:30 in the morning to 2 in the morning. Currently, we just re-imaged and we now seat 25 people, so our common vic license closes down at 11 for dine-in, so we were trying to extend that later.
So you'd be continuing with your existing delivery service until 2 AM?
Correct.
And are looking to seat people until that time as well?
Correct.
Councilor Famico?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, our city clerk has the petition. So the letter that we received through Domino's, it does state 1 AM on those days and 2 AM
It does?
the others, yes.
Okay, so can we postpone this? Because it was supposed to be 2 AM. I don't know who made the clerical error.
I have no problem suspending this. Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the hearing be continued.
All right.
Other discussion, please? Should I just,
Councilor Sergeant.
Has any abutters, any of the residential abutters been notified of this petition?
We don't have any residential next to us. The MBTA is behind us, and there's nothing on either side right on the corner.
You got Pond Street and the end of Washington Street up there that's behind Sammy's. Right, so they're the nearest residential abutters should be notified when something's going on around them.
Of the,
So otherwise, they don't have a chance to come in and weigh in on this.
Correct. There's no direct residential butters, but there are some within, I'd say, about 80 yards or so.
Right, they're like I say, nearest residential abutters. So
All the
they-
butters are commercial.
Yeah. Well, commercial people don't worry about late night hours. Residential people with children do. So the nearest abutters, families, et cetera, should at least have an idea what's going on around them.
we've been
So-
open for
Right.
20 years until 2 in the morning.
Right. Well, you know, you asked to change something, right?
We now have dine-in. We re-imaged, we spent a lot of money, we bought MBTA land behind us, and
Right.
it looks very nice now. So we were looking to do dine-in.
Right. So I'm saying, you're changing it to where people will be coming and going. Your drivers you can control, but people coming and going in and out, especially late night hours. I mean, as we all know, the bars close at 1.
They've had takeout.
I know they're there, but sometimes customers coming and going after 1 can sometimes be unruly. So the people around need to know what's going on. I think it's
Right.
only a fair thing to do to let them know what your proposition is so that they can weigh in on this. So we don't have them come before us like some other issues so many months later and say, why didn't somebody tell us about this? So I would put a letter around the residential street, at least Pond Street and the Washington Square exit, maybe over to Margin Street, just to be on the safe side,
Okay?
just to be fair. Thank you.
Councilor Gerard?
Thank you, Mr. President. The city clerk does have a list of abutters who were notified, and prior to the meeting, I did encounter, I believe, 2 abutters who are here tonight that wanted to speak on this issue.
Councilor Epley?
Thank you, Mr. President. I obviously assume that this will be continued at some point, but whenever we do have a continued hearing, what I'd like to know, and I'm not sure it's necessarily Domino's issue here, but I'd like to know either from the clerk or from the city solicitor whether there are any licensed dine-in services in the city that are open until 2 a.m.
Something we should get. I'll say this, before we continue this, because we do have people here who would like to speak on the issue, and I recognize that we have a different route, that the request from Domino's is intended to be different, but before we go on to that, because again, we do have abutters that are here now who'd like to speak, I'd like to see if any of the abutters that are here would like to address us on this issue. If you can come up, please. Thank you.
That's good.
Just, when you come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
I didn't realize they did almost.
I've never been up here before, but my name is Graham Morris. I'm at 90 Margin Street and here in Salem, obviously. Much love to you guys. I eat from you guys all the time, so no. I just have the issue with what you actually said. As far I've been living here for about 12 years, and I don't think that there are any dine-in places that are open till 2 a.m. And if this moves forward, I think that it could be a domino effect. The other thing is
Well played.
the other. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Anyway, no, the other thing was that just the issue of right now we currently do have, as you mentioned, people that do come by walking past our house at, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, that kind of thing, and they're very loud. They're obviously just came back from the bars. Now they've got the cider place open over there, so there's people over there. That place is good too, you should check it out. But anyway, there's just a lot of people walking by late at night, and now that if it's going to be dine-in and that kind of thing, as was already mentioned, it could become worse for us because there's going to be there might be more people walking by. So, but like I said, I love your food, so I eat food. So I don't want to hurt you guys. It's just like I live right there, so. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Anybody else among the butters here? Come on up and thank you.
Am I allowed to leave now?
Sure. Of course.
Hi, John Femino, also at 90 Myers Street, different apartment. My family's owned that building since the 60s, and I guess I would be not in favor of allowing anything being open that late and having more people coming to the area. They are on the edge of a residential area, and I understand there's a Salem House of Pizza, and their hours are only open till 11, and they have sit-in, they have dine-in also. So I'm opposed to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other councilors have any comments or questions before we continue this? Councilor Dibble?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I rise for a safety issue that we need to think about. With the renovations at Domino's, I'd like to get an opinion from the city engineer and a second from the city solicitor insofar as encroachment onto the bike path, the future bike path right away, the MBTA property. The expansion of the parking lot has created a safety issue. Cars whipping in and out of the parking lot, and I drive right by there on a frequent basis. The level of the parking lot has been raised some 5 or 6 feet along where the future bike path will be. All that's supporting cars from flying over the edge is a small bituminous curb, which is already starting to fall apart. It's a launching pad and it's probably about 2 feet above the retaining wall to the commuter rail line. It's a dangerous situation, and then making it even more dangerous going till 2 o'clock in the morning where more people will be coming there, perhaps coming from a bar, etc. I don't think it's a safe situation now, and we should find out if the parking lot was built correctly. Was a drainage alteration permit received from the city because they added, I'm going to guess 5 feet of fill, which you need for above 3 feet, I think it is. So it's a safety matter. So I would strongly support keeping this in the public hearing open or denying this request.
We're continuing it, Councilor. Councilor Famico?
Yes?
Thank you, Mr. President. Could I ask a question of the petitioner prior?
Absolutely.
Through you. Just a quick question for you.
Yes.
So you said currently you're open later. Is that for delivery only?
We're open till 2 a.m., everything, but 11 o'clock we close the dine-in. So people can come in and pick up their pizza, but they can't stay in, they just pick it up and leave.
And that's until what time again?
2.
2 o'clock?
Yep. And we are putting a guardrail up this week on top of that. And we work side by side with the MBTA and the city to work together to put the bike path together.
Just for when you come back next time, I'd just like to have an idea of your occupancy inside.
It's
for
25.
That, for 25 for
Yep.
that? And just in general, I do like that we have some food options that aren't candy bars for late night, so I'm thankful that you're already open until 2 a.m. for that.
Cookies now.
There you go. But just when you come back to have that additional information, and then we get it all clarified.
What was the information?
Just like with the occupancy part, is
Yep.
it 25 total? Could we have
It's
more
the common
people?
vics for 25.
Okay, just to make sure you'd cut that off.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And I don't know if through the president to the city clerk, do they now need to do a new petition, or what will happen?
Or amend their existing
They
one?
have to amend their existing petition, or,
We can amend it now if you like.
so it can be amended now?
So I would say, so we have a motion to continue. That would be to our next scheduled meeting, which would be October 27th. I think this, since what was submitted to us from Domino's Corporate for that was for 1 a.m./2 a.m., we need to have that clarified before we come back in and determine what exactly you are asking for, and then we can,
Okay.
discuss this further and make any informed decision there is.
Okay.
So, motion to continue. All those in favor? Opposed? Continued. Appointments and reappointments.
Held from the last meeting, the mayor's appointment of the following to serve as members of the Traffic and Parking Commission with the following terms to expire. Jamie Metch, September 29, 2019. Eric Papetti, September 29, 2017. Nicholas Downing, September 29, 2018.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor McCarthy moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion, Mr. President.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to speak in favor of Eric Papetti as one of my constituents, and he's become a friend, and he has been phenomenal on the Bike Advisory Committee. He offers a great deal of resource and knowledge about traffic and parking throughout the city as he works for the Federal Transportation Administration, and I, not unanimously, I enthusiastically support his appointment.
Thank you. Councilor Famico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to speak on all three of our appointments tonight. First one, Jamie, if anyone here goes to Roost in downtown Salem or Roost over in Beverly, and then they're soon to have another store in Beverly as well, Jamie is very involved with the community. In addition to having his downtown store, he actually lives off the common as well, so he gets how it is for not only the retail stores, but also how it is for people that live in a pretty dense area that sometimes on-street parking can be difficult to find. So besides working in the retail business and his past life, Jamie was a community development planner down in Asheville, and I've heard that it's a phenomenal place to visit. It's on my list to go to. Next, I'd like to speak in support of Nick Downing. So Nick works for the Mass Area Planning Council, but he actually helped develop the state's Complete Streets policy. And as we all know, we were a leader in that in Salem, so the fact that we have someone that's working for traffic and parking that understands all modes of transit when we're doing roadways and designs and paving projects, I'm really glad to have him on board for that. In addition, he has some background in actually policy creation, which we need. And our final person, Eric. He's not my constituent, but Eric and I have spoken at great length at different times about street infrastructure, and yesterday evening we actually crossed over the bridge to attend a meeting in Beverly. Reason is Beverly and Salem, we have that one connecting piece, and when what they're planning, we should really be looking to make sure it connects to us. So Eric has his pulse on all things local for that, and in his addition for the federal involvement, it's just really great to have him on board. So I threw all three into that, but thank you all for serving.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Dibble?
Yes.
Counselor Epley?
Yes.
Counselor Famico?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Gerard?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Milo?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Terrio?
Yes. On the matter of the appointment to the Parking and Traffic Commission of Jamie Metch, Eric Papetti, and Nicholas Downing, 11 councilors present, 11 voting, all in the affirmative, none in the negative, the matter carries. Councilor McCarthy.
I'd ask for suspension of rules if any of the gentlemen would like to speak.
See no objection. If any of you gentlemen who've just been confirmed would like to address council at all, or if... Yeah, please.
Very briefly. Eric Papetti, just thank you so much, Beth and Heather, for your kind words. And I just want to say I really love being involved with everything in this city, and mostly just getting to know all of you all of the other people who are so passionate about this city. And I really look forward to serving on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Nick Downing from 10 Andrew Street. Thank you, Councilor Famico, for speaking so kindly of me. I'm looking forward to serving on the committee as well. I'm a relatively new resident to Salem. My wife and I just bought our first home here about 6 months ago, so we're excited to be here and excited to be part of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Jamie Metch, also resident here at Oliver Street, and thank you for the kind words, and also look forward to working with the committee and making recommendations and serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Attorney Tanya Stepasini Stepazuik, 10 Burnside Street, to serve as a member of the Traffic and Parking Commission with a term to expire October 13, 2017.
Councilor Femiko.
Be held under the rules.
Councilor Femiko moves to be held under the rules. Okay, so communication from the mayor.
We have an order to authorize the mayor to purchase property located at 289 Derby Street on behalf of the city of Salem for $1.4 million. Said land shall be subject to an open space preservation restriction.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Epley moves this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, there are going to be a series of similar votes that we're going to be taking here to hopefully move this all to committee. What I'm hoping to do, just to my colleagues, I would like to have a meeting on this with the Committee of the Whole, co-posted with the, with the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. I'd like to have that at a time, probably next week or the week after, but prior to our next meeting. And I would just also tell my colleagues, we will not have a meeting on the Committee on Administration and Finance that we would normally have at 6 o'clock on the next council meeting, because that is early voting day. And I'm going to encourage my Ola colleague to do the same. So stay tuned in terms of a date.
Okay, just if I may interject, Councillor, that we already have a meeting of the Committee of the Whole scheduled for next Tuesday, so having that piggyback might be a good idea, or, if something else suits the committee better, then whatever. I just want to point that out. On Councillor Epley's motion for referral to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further communication from the mayor.
We have a bond order in the amount of $1.4 million for the Community Preservation Act project of acquisition of the 289 Derby Street for recreation purposes.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Epley moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, under discussion.
No discussion.
On Councilor Epley's motion, this be referred to Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation from $100,000 from CPA funds to CPA 289 Derby Street design and costs.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Epley moves this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, under discussion.
No discussion.
On Councilor Epley's motion, this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further communications to the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $9,405.69 from Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback Account for the contractual buyback of Nancy Haskell of the School Department.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Epley moves for suspension of the rules. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption.
Councilor Epley moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an opportunity for us to thank Ms. Haskell for her work with the school department, and wish her a very happy retirement on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Epley's motion for adoption, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept a donation from the Friends of the Council on Aging in the amount of $3,209 to be deposited into the Park and Recreation Fund.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption.
Councilor Epley moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank very much the Friends of the Council on Aging for this very generous donation to the city, and specifically, I want to note, and my colleague pointed out that there was an error, not within the order, so there's no error within the order, but in terms of the letter from the mayor, this money is going to be going into an account specifically for the Council on Aging donation fund. It's not going into any sort of general fund for the Park and Rec Department. But again, I just would ask for adoption, and I think my colleague also wishes to speak.
Councilor Milo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, I'm going to give a plug for the Friends of the Council on Aging, too. I've said it before about all our volunteer organizations and a lot of our nonprofits here in Salem. The city would come to a halt if it wasn't for them. This particular group helps a very special group that's near and dear to my heart. They've done a lot of good work down there. They continue to do that, and I look forward to their contributions in the future to help us be an age-friendly city that we're working on now. So thanks very much to the Friends.
Thank you. On Councilor Epley's motion for adoption, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Fury.
Councilor Toriel.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem, year 2016. An ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time is hereby amended by adding the following. Cabot Street in front of number 40 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter, and I move for adoption for first passage.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a resident on Cabot Street who unfortunately is in need of a handicap space, does not have a driveway available, has been parking on the street, and needs the closer space in order to deal with issues. The lieutenant went through and vetted this, and all is well.
Any further discussion? All right. So your request is to send it
This is for adoption first passage.
for adoption on first passage. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Unanimous. Councilor Toriel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further motions, orders, and resolutions? Councilor Famico.
Yes, late file. City of Salem and City Council, October 13th, 2016. Ordered prior to the disposition of the city-owned parcel at 297 Bridge Street. Number 1, the mayor shall receive authorization from the City Council by a 2/3 vote prior to executing a deed conveying the parcel. Number 2, a proposed deed restriction shall be prepared by the city solicitor and submitted to the City Council for approval prior to the disposition of the parcel, which shall include, but not be limited to, use and build restrictions on the parcel for at least 50 years. And, number 3, the city solicitor shall prepare and submit to the City Council, prior to the disposition of the parcel, a condition of the sale requiring that the planning board not take action on site plan review for a redevelopment proposal involving the parcel until after it has received a recommendation from the Design Review Board concerning the design of the project, and to the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Famico moves this be referred to the Committee of the Whole. This is not open for discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Committee reports. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council, October 13th, 2016. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of creating an ordinance regarding plastic bags and polystyrene food and beverage container reduction in Salem, has considered the said matter and would recommend that the matter remain in committee.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just briefly, we did have a very lively discussion at our last committee meeting, and we decided to continue it just to allow more people to weigh in on these issues. And our next meeting is going to be Monday, the 17th at 6:30 p.m. here.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further committee reports. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem, City Council, October 13th, 2016. The Committee of the Whole, to whom the matter, who has referred the matter of the Planning Board recommendation to rezone 2 real property situated at number 293 and number 297 Bridge Street to B4 Business, Wholesale, and Automotive, has considered said matter and recommend that the matter be brought to the full council.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? So moved. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was my privilege to chair that meeting the other evening, and the Committee of the Whole took up the matter. We looked at the recommendations that came forth from the Planning Board, and at that point, the committee moved to send the matter to the full council with a positive recommendation and to move the matter. So at this point, the matter is in front of the body, out for discussion. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Nobody will speak on it.
Councilor Sargent?
You want me to?
Well,
Okay, you asked for it. No, I will speak on, I just rise to speak against the rezoning. I'm sure everybody knows that. You know, the past planning in the city saw a confusing set of uses. Business, commercial, industrial, and residential all mixed in together, especially in the downtown and surrounded areas. They rezoned Salem to allow for dedicated business, commercial, industrial, and residential zones, so that one day conflicting uses would go away. Commercial uses would leave residential areas and vice versa. That left us with Universal Steel zoned R2 and in an R2 zone, and one-family homes along Highland Avenue in the business district zoned in a B2 zone. So that someday, as part of the 50-year plan, these things would change. Backyards would no longer divide residential and commercial uses. The middle of the streets would, such as Universal Steel. With it becoming B2, Bridge Street becomes the divider, not the back fence lines, which makes for a much larger buffer zone between the zones and for the residential people. Of course, such changes left grandfathered uses. But someday, the plan was for the grandfathered uses to go away. And the residential area around it would be left with a better life, because zoning there would change also. In this case, it would change to R2 when Universal Steel went away. And neighbors on Federal Street and many neighborhoods around the city patiently waited for the day that would happen. Sometimes they waited a couple of generations. Well, that day came on the Universal Steel site when they left Bridge Street. 50-year-old planning came to fruition. Conflict went away, quality of life improved, there'd be no more commercial use abutting the residential back fences. Now we're asked to reverse that decision and take that well-thought-out 50-year-old plan and throw it away and return to a conflicting time when commercial use abutted a residential use. It simply doesn't make sense to do this, and it's not fair to the neighborhood or any neighborhood that lived there, bought there, invested there with R2 zoning in place and the promise that things would get better. So many times we're told to act like a business. Well, Webb did act like a business, and you have to commend them for it. They could have bought this when Universal Steel owned it. They could have bought it from them. But instead, they let the city buy it, and they waited patiently. Well, the city used $3.5 million in government grants, taxpayer-funded money to clean it up. Then they decided to buy the property back, or they will buy it for $300,000 to $400,000, and they'll receive the benefit of the $3.5 million cleanup. That's a good business decision on their part. You have to give them that whether you agree with them zoning it or not. Then they'll receive a zoning change from B2 to B4, which will add more value to their property. Then they'll buy the land at a limited liability corporation, which makes sense. Webb won't own it. The limited liability corporation will. So that if the more costly cleanup comes along somewhere in the future, they don't always have to clean it up. If it gets too bad, they can walk away from it. And they also have made the decision of letting us be part of the ownership chain. So the taxpayers of Salem will be on the hook for part of that cleanup. On the other hand, the city of Salem, as far as acting like a business, we own the land with no mortgage. It's capped and accepted as a hazardous waste site clean by state and federal agencies. It makes money now, even though it's not marketed well. It can take in more revenue than Webb will pay in taxes if marketed properly, and allow future parking for the court system and tourism. Why would we not want to keep that valuable asset? We gave away one parking lot downtown 30 years ago, and I'd love to be able to park there now between Norman Street and Barton Square, but you can't even walk through it now. There's a gate on the other end. Okay? Why would we not want to maintain the leverage of ownership so we can make money and no one can disturb it or dig in it? Leverage of ownership will make sure that that property is owned by us and never causes taxpayers any problems again. Instead, we have to spend months having divisive meetings to change zoning against the will of the neighbors and change their quality of life and return to the days of conflicting zoning uses. I don't understand why we want to do that, and I don't put any pressure on any certain councilor, just my own views. Tonight, my vote is to act like a business person and keep this valuable money-making asset. My vote is to respect the wisdom of planners years ago who looked ahead to better days for the neighborhoods of Salem and made changes to help them get there. To change zoning now is like an eminent domain taken of property values for the neighborhood, or any neighborhood that's against it, and cause problems with their quality of life. My vote's to maintain the leverage of ownership of the site so no one can disturb it, and future taxpayers don't have to pay for a big cleanup. You know, and last but not least, if this was Zone B4 right now, we wouldn't be here. The business interest would have this by right, and we'd have to accept that. We'd have to tell all our neighbors they have zoning by right. That's the rule. We have to play by the rules. In this case, they don't, and the neighbors should win in this case. But we got a situation here where when the commercial interests have the rules in their favor, they win. When they don't have the rules in their favor, they win anyways, because we changed the rules to match their plans. Instead of planning 50 years ahead like our planners did, we planned 5 minutes ahead. And instead of having our people plan for what we want, we have businesses come in and tell us what they want, and we change our plan for that. I don't think that's a good way to run a city. You know, business organizations have many people that represent them. Powerful lawyers, business interests, the partnership, the Chamber of Commerce, all kinds of people that represent them. And who do the neighborhood people, the residential people, the homeowners of this city have to represent them? That would be us. We go around knocking on their doors, telling them we're going to represent them. Now's the time when this neighborhood needs representation, and we're turning our back on them with our vote. If these people were in favor of this zoning change, I'd support it. But they're clearly not, and we should clearly stick up for them. We're the only body they have in the city that represents them. Thank you.
Councilor Firmenko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we go on, could we have an acceptance of the report prior to any other discussion?
We did do acceptance of the committee report.
We did know the recommendation.
Yeah, we're on adoption of the
I checked
recommendations.
with other councils and I was told we didn't. My
Pardon?
apologies. My apologies for that. Then I'd like to speak then.
Yes.
So prior to the latest plans we had, I was against this project. However, a lot of changes have come our way. We now have the public way preserved, which with the photos we've all received prior in other meetings showing what that public way could be and can be. I hope that going forward we can make some of those changes to make it like the ones we saw in Marblehead and elsewhere. The second thing is I was concerned before without the design review board. Now that was recommended by the planning board, I'm glad to see that, especially in an entrance corridor. And finally, now we're leaving the cap left undisturbed. As the council president mentioned the other night, maybe someday in the future there will be technology that can go in and fix that without having to undisturb it and affect our kids and other community members in the process. With that being said, I am in favor now of making the change to B4 for this and going forward to tonight for a first passage. Thank you.
Councilor Fury.
Yes, please. Mr. President and fellow members, as a lifelong resident of Salem, I have lived proudly next to a laundromat, next to a fire station, next to a garage, power plant, a sub shop, a school, a Southeast Sewage District dump, a leather factory, even a business on Beckford and Federal Street, above it. Salem is a rich and diverse city of commercial, residential, and business. It's a marriage that's lasted since the very beginning. Its future is at stake, all three entities. We're lucky to live in this city of the richness and the legacy of Salem. And we've gone through some emotional hearings since January, 10 months of hearings. Very emotional, divisive situation. I lived through a situation very similar, if I may draw an analogy. I was on a school committee. And back in the 1990s, we had a very divisive, meaning teacher strike in the city of Salem. As a teacher myself, I walked before the strike, during the strike, and after the strike. The mayor at that time lost, in the next election, lost his job. Superintendent lost his job. The union president lost his job. No one wins in a strike, a teacher strike. We almost had one in Chicago last week. No one wins. The scars are still there in the schools. What happened the last 10 months is very divisive and demeaning and emotional for the city of Salem. If I said back then, and I wrote, I said back then, and I wrote to the letters to the editor, and I recited this poem to bring us together, to be a city of one. We must come together and heal. After the strike, we tried. Some listened and some didn't. Some lost their jobs. I hope we come together as a city after this very difficult vote. And back then, I put this in the paper, the letters to the editor, from Ecclesiastes, a time for everything. I won't recite the whole poem, for many of us remember it. There is a time for everything under heaven, and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. And many of us are familiar with this folk song, done by the Weavers back in the 1950s, done by Pete Seeger, done by the rock group The Byrds. It's a very beautiful song, and at the end, it calls for a time of peace. City of Salem means peace. I think, sincerely, we need to come to peace without threats of lawsuits, to come together. We're all a city. I can remember being in this chamber 12 years ago when we almost got a senior citizen complex on Lafayette Street. But some members of this particular group here were against that senior center, and we still do not have a senior center 12 years later. When do we come together as a city? Who wins and who loses in these fights? Lawyers, litigation, not the city of Salem. As a council at large, sincerely, throughout the city of Salem, we've heard much from the, and I've lived on Conwell Federal and Beckford Street, above a commercial store with one of my adopted sons. I live right across the street from Bill Burns, Mrs. Burns. So I love that neighborhood. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I really believe, and sincerely believe, that we need to come together as a city after this vote, not with threats of lawsuits. Look where we are in the Council on Aging. Every other city has a Council on Aging. If some people want a lawsuit, here we are 12 years later, and we're still arguing when that is going to come about. Webb is a long-standing business. I've lived next to businesses. Most of us live next to businesses. And Councilor Turio mentioned in the last meeting how many of us have done that. We're a city of that. To threaten a lawsuit, as it took 6 years ago, as Councilor Carr mentioned, 6 years. I don't think Webb's going to be around for 6 years in litigation. Is that what we really want? No. I think we want Webb, the intricate part of Salem. Compromise has come about. I call it the Dibble Plan. We came out to a real compromise. We listened in difficult situations, and here we are. The actual building's going to be built not on the hazardous waste site. It's going to be a parking lot. So I think we need to come together as a city. We need commercial development like Webb. We need a council on aging, not litigation, not lawsuits. 12 years later. What a shame. I'm 68 years old. When are we going to have a council on aging? When are we going to come together? When are we going to agree that cities represents business, commercial, and residential? It's not one district versus another. What we've happened, I don't know how some of us can go to bed tonight with the idea of a lawsuit. Sincerely, I couldn't sleep threatening my own home city with a lawsuit. Look where we are. Sincerely, we need to move on. The City of Peace needs to move on beyond this acrimony. The teacher strike was very divisive. I taught in Lynn for 20 years. The scars are still there from their teacher strike back in the 60s. We don't need scars. We do not need division in the city. We need to unify it. And I hope by voting for this situation, we send a clear message to other businesses that want to come to Salem, reinvest in Salem, stay here. We need business. Wherever I go in the city of Salem, when I go for election, we need our residential rates down. We need more commercial. Well, hello. This is one part of the city that wants to reinvest in Salem. I applaud them from the very beginning of this process 10 months ago, and I applaud them now by voting. Thank you.
Councillor Dibble.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of this project, and I was not there at the beginning of this whole process months ago. The two good at-large counselors closest to you, Mr. President, they both spoke opposite way on this one project just now. And I think the resolution to that conflict was the last 10 months, when the neighbors brought forward a wealth of ideas, a wealth of changes, and a wealth of information. And it's because of the neighbors, and I spoke on this very briefly earlier this week at a committee meeting, but here there are people at home, and there's so many more people, a few more people here from the Federal Street neighborhood here tonight. You folks have changed this project from a big box building where the soils below, potentially contaminated soils below, actually contaminated soils below, was going to be dug up. The right-of-way was going to be gone. A big box shop, TIF would have to happen, so a big tax break. All that stuff does not have to happen any longer. So now, as we move forward, we're putting, well, Webb is proposing an addition on the other side of their building, in keeping the parking lot in place with a little minor disturbances that I think most of us can live with, maybe all of us can live with. And if the building, as the good Ward 2 councilor just ordered, the addition will go before the planning board, but also the design review board, where everybody will have an opportunity to speak on the nuts and bolts of the design, and we'll have a better project. So when the entire city of Salem and the entire Federal Street neighborhood is up on the North Street overpass looking down a future beautiful avenue of Bridge Street towards Boston Street, we'll see an amazing looking building with an addition attached to the existing Webb building. And hopefully we'll see on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors, or the 4th and 5th floors, artist lofts or artist studios or lawyers' offices or something nice up there as well as Webb itself. So I like the good counselor's comments about we all come together. And I like that. I really like Councilor Sargent's comments on the zoning and protecting the neighborhood. I think that we found a balance, and it's 99% the result of the neighbors coming out in support of this, or not in support, but in questioning the entire project. So I thank the neighbors for bringing your ideas forward.
Any further discussion? Councilor Lovely.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I first came to the City Council and my experience in the past, I was always opposed to businesses moving into a residential district, particularly when the business is grandfathered in a particular district. So it was going to take a lot to convince me to vote for the previous Webb project that nobody seemed to like, although there was a lot of support for it. We came very close to getting that project. So the neighbors, won that battle by all their hard work, and they came up with an idea of some compromise. I'm not in favor of expanding the business there. I wouldn't want that in my neighborhood if I lived there or where I currently live. If they, heaven forbid, something happened to the church, they wanted to put a commercial use there, I wouldn't be happy about it, and I would fight just as hard as they have. But the neighbors, and I spoke to some of them, and I also spoke to the administration about their concern was with B4. They're all set with the project. They're willing to make a compromise. They're concerned about the B4 zoning. I made suggestions back in March and April. This can be done by amending the NRCC. And I wasn't in favor of that, but as a compromise, I could support that. Think of what you're doing now. You're creating a B4. You haven't even seen a plan. I came before this council back on a project on Planter Street. There was an industrial area, or a B4 area, that was turned into R2. There are now 4 single-family homes there. There is another duplex on Bridge Street, beautiful homes that have provided housing. It took me a year and a half to get plans to present to the planning board, to the planning department, and to come to the city council to get a zoning change where everybody was in favor of it. We had to show them plans where the sidelines were, where the setbacks were, where the sidewalks were going to be, what trees were going to be planted. But we're changing something that nobody wants, other than the members of the council. The neighbors don't want B4. We haven't even seen a plan yet. Now, I don't know where litigation is going to go and how successful or unsuccessful it will be, but it's going to be a delay in doing anything with that project. That's okay with me, because I think the Webb building is really doesn't really intrude into the neighborhood. You really don't know there's a business there unless you're a plumber going to buy supplies, or you're familiar with what they offer there. But I hope that whenever this project does go forward, if it does, that when you drive by that, in the future, they're going to look back and say, that's one vote I would like to have back. Think about it. You don't even have a plan to know what they're going to do. One of the arguments for saying we can't amend NRCC because the developer, Webb in this case, will then have to go before the Board of Appeals and get variances. I can almost guarantee you that under B4, they're going to be searching for a variance. So B4 makes their property much more valuable to them financially. That's the reason why we couldn't change NRCC to allow this project by special permit is beyond me. And again, I hope that I'm wrong, that I go by and say, boy, I'm glad I was on the losing side of that because I was incorrect. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Fury?
Councilor Giuliano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too, when this project first came before us, was generally supportive of having this done, but I had grave concerns about the prospective design. I had grave concerns about disturbing the cap. I heard a lot of testimony over many, many months that assured me that although I wanted to go through the process of being ready to dispose of this, I was willing to vote in surplus. I was willing to vote in favor of the zoning change to make this happen, but I was not willing to vote at that time in favor of actually transferring the property to them, absent a plan that I thought could work. I would not have voted for it had we come to that point and gotten through the zoning vote earlier on in the year, and had we gotten to the sale, like I said, I would have not supported that. To their credit, Webb went back with their attorney. They reworked their plan significantly. They reused the existing building. They changed the focus over to their existing lot. This is a zoning question, true, but we're looking at zoning a lot that right now is owned by the city and would not be conveyed to Webb unless an acceptable plan was approved. We're looking at rezoning a city lot that is unbuildable, and we expect to remain unbuildable for decades into the future. And then we're looking at rezoning their existing lot with their existing building in order to enable this new use. I am comfortable with rezoning this lot and allowing this to happen. Simply put, I believe that we have worked very hard for many months to strike a balance between accommodating the needs of a business that's been on the site for a long time, since far before the zoning that is in place was ever created, and balancing the requirements of the neighbors and the abutters directly adjacent to this property. We no longer are going to be building a big structure, a big multi-story 40-foot structure that's going to be overlooking the users off Bridge Street and behind. We're not going to be doing that on River Street anymore. We're not going to be taking the public way. We're not going to be parking into where the Alpha Auto lot is. We're moving the whole focus of the project closer away, closer to 114. I think these are, this is compromise, this is balance, and perhaps B4 makes the existing NRCC property, changing from NRCC to B4, maybe that does have an effect on their value. I don't expect at the conclusion of this process that Webb is going to go anywhere. I am pretty comfortable in that assertion. I expect them to be here for the long haul. They've been here for this many decades already, and they wouldn't be doing this if they didn't want to stay. In the event that they do go somewhere else at some point, if they do leave, if they do decide that they've been dragged down enough with appeals and any other issues that come up, B4 does not automatically give us the ability, give anybody the ability to come in there and do anything they want. And they're dealing with a certain building footprint that's already in place. So I am in support of going forward with this. I do think that the applicants have done sufficient change and sufficient modification of their plan and taken into account what the neighbors want. And I think at this point, changing the zoning is one of the few tools that we have as a city to make this go forward. I would be very much in favor, after this whole process has completed, of taking a good look at some of our zoning plans throughout the city. I'd be in favor of taking a look at NRCC zoning and what is permitted there. We've already gone to the point where we have, because of zoning changes we've made, where we've taken a zone and amended it to allow no other uses, we have unintended consequences in other places of the city. The councilor at large spoke to this several times in the process of development. When we changed some of our other zoning, when we changed zoning with the idea that it would enable one project on Highland Avenue on the Lynn border, we wound up having far-ranging effects around the entire city. So I think zoning tables in general are something we need to look at as a city and see where what changes need to be made in order to accommodate our modern needs, while also protecting the neighborhoods that the zoning affects. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you.
Councilor Epley? No. Any further, Councilor Sargent?
Just quickly, and I'm not going to speak to rebut anybody for any reason, but there was a compromise available that would have worked very fine, I felt here, and it's part of Councilor Dibble's plan to build on the other side, and it was to allow an entrance out to a city-owned parking lot, so that Webb could use that parking lot for their customers, and we would benefit from the revenue. And also benefit after hours or on weekends, especially during the month of October, where we make thousands of dollars at $10, $20 a car. And similar to the Elmy's parking lot. We never rezoned the Elmy's parking lot out here, sold it to anybody, but all the businesses around use it and we get the revenue. And the simple solution would have been, as we talked about, to allow an easement, as we do with Salem Hospital, for some 5 acres. We give Salem Hospital a 99-year lease for like 5 acres they use for parking. Didn't have to be rezoned. It abuts the neighborhood, works fine. Was to give them a lease in the corner of the parking lot for their loading docks, an easement to drive through the parking lot to get to it, and we still maintain 80% of the parking spaces and maintain the revenue, and their customers get to use it. That's the compromise, when both sides get something they want. This compromise was fashioned by Webb. This isn't where both sides get what they want. The neighbors weren't invited to their meetings for this compromise. So that kind of situation, that thinking outside the box, allows the neighbors to keep the zoning, which is paramount. Zoning is the most important thing you can have for your property or property surrounding you. Well, once you change zoning, anything that's allowed by right in that zone is allowed by right. You have no say. So we get neighbors that are going to have B4 zoning around them when they used to have R2, yet they have to go by historic neighborhood rules for the color or paint of their house, the way their fence is. If they go to put a shed 15 feet away from the new Webb property, back fence, they have to go by a certain amount of feet. They have to go by all the different rules they have to do in their neighborhood. Yet we're changing the rules for somebody else that are huge, huge changes that we don't even know what will come from the future of this. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is on adoption of the recommendation. The recommendation would be for adoption for first passage. So I would show of hands for roll call vote. Thank you. So we will have a roll call vote. A yes vote is for adoption of the recommendation, which is adoption for first passage. A no vote would be against adoption. So that, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Dibble?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Point of clarification.
Sure.
We are voting to rezone both properties.
Both parcels.
The existing Webb building and the Universal Steel parking lot.
Yes.
Don't know their addresses offhand, but just to be clear, both properties.
Yes, both properties are within this rezoning request.
Thank you.
So,
yes.
Councilor Epley?
Yes.
Councilor Famico?
Yes.
Councilor Fury?
Yes.
Councilor Gerard?
Yes.
Councilor Lovely?
No.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Milo?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
No.
Councilor Terrio?
yes. On the matter of first passage of the zoning of, change the zoning of 293 and 297 Bridge Street to B4 Business Wholesale and Automotive, 11 councilors present, 11 voting, 9 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The matter carries. Communication from city officials.
City clerk submitting the election warrant for the state's presidential election to be held on November 8th, 2016.
Councilor Fury.
Yes, Mr. President. I wish to have adoption on this issue. It doesn't seem possible. The clock is counting down. Democracy in action. It was very interesting, this whole meeting. We had a wide cross-section of people in this chamber tonight. It's so critical for this country to vote. Only a few days away, countdown on the state, shelves, federal level. There's so many choices, ballot questions, and we have great places to vote. City Clerk Charlotte Point and Eileen Simons, great outside the campus, even here in this facility, early voting. So I hope this passes, and I hope we all vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder to everyone that October 24th is the first early voting date here in Massachusetts, first time here in Salem, as well in City Hall. But on this matter, I'm in obviously full support. And just as one side note, I would note that one major party presidential candidate at one of his rallies indicated that the election date was November 28th. I want to make sure that everyone at home knows that it's November 8th for everyone. So please come vote on November 8th.
We need to correct that. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Fury's motion for adoption, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Petitions.
We have a petition from Target located at 227 Highland Avenue to request a one-day extension of store hours on Friday, November 25th, 2016, the day after Thanksgiving, to open sometime after 12 a.m. for this day only. Target normally opens on Fridays at 8 a.m.
Hearing ordered October 27th, 2016. Further petitions.
We have a request from the Peabody Essex Museum to obstruct a portion of the public way on Essex Street commencing November 14th through December of 2018 to establish a safe, secure staging area for which to execute the work of constructing a 38,000 square foot expansion.
Councilor Fumiko.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move this be approved.
Councilor Fumiko moves for approval. Any discussion?
Yes. So as President of the Council Chambers tonight, we do have the head of facilities, Bob Monk from the Peabody Essex Museum. So prior to coming here tonight, he's located right over here against the wall. So prior to tonight's meeting, Mr. Monk and I met on at least one occasion at the museum itself. He ran through the plans for me. He's also been before a couple of the boards and commissions, and he and Hotel Salem, we worked together to set up a meeting that was for downtown residents and downtown businesses. And for that was above and beyond what he needed to do. For those meetings, we had overall about 50 people in attendance between the two meetings. And there was one evening meeting held and then one during the daytime as well. So from that, we had a mix of all the different business community and residents who were quite pleased with the plan. In addition, tonight I do have a letter from the Chief of Police. She and the fire department did not only look through the written plans, which we have, but they also did a site review for this. If anyone remembers, the last time the museum expanded, they also put these barricades up, and at the time, they had the images of their current exhibit on those, and they'll be doing the same thing. During the month of October, these will be taken away, and if any time the police determines that this would be a disturbance for the neighborhood, they'd work with the museum to hold those back. On both meetings, there weren't any negative pieces of feedback from any neighbor or business community. Actually, they were all very happy for this. And if once you look at the plans, one part of it is that the new expansion is it will have it lit up, so when you're going down there at night, it won't be as dark. The trees that we're taking down will be replanted, and actually, we have some from them too that they've been on hold, that they actually agreed to give us more than what they took down. So I know that our Lorix task force can work with him on that. The area that's outside of the current museum in the future too, they're looking to utilize it with some public art or some sort of thing, something that engages people. And at the same time of all of this, as was mentioned earlier, they have been fixing up a lot of the historic homes and properties that they have. It's way beyond what we even know if you actually looked at everything the museum controls. So with that, and with everything that they've done, I am in approval for this. I am not only the council there, but I am a neighbor. So they'll be going back and forth in front of me a lot, and they'll be working with the hours mandated by the building department as well, and if any concerns come that way, I'm sure they'll take care of it. But I thank the museum for their outreach for that. And I would also note that although the main entrance to the museum is on Essex Street, part of it's also in Ward 1 on Central Street, not Central, Charter Street. So we abut there for that. But thank you for everyone for that and for the museum for their time.
Thank you. I just also had to apologize for not remembering this early on. I know Councilor Fury has recused from this issue, from this matter, so that's why we just spoke there. Any further discussion? Councilor Sargent.
I'm just a little concerned about 14 feet wide. I mean, that 14 feet wide can't get two small cars past each other going in opposite directions if they needed to. And that's such a small area. There's no way that they can keep that a little wider than 14 feet wide, through you.
Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. When this came before us previously, when the whole museum was in Ward 1, and we went through this whole process, that the whole determination of that was by the fire department. The fire department set the guidelines of how much space they needed, and it worked 3 years ago. I'm sure it will continue to work. And the fire department has ultimate control. If they find there's a need to do something, to move something, they can request that they do so.
Councilor Fumiko.
Could I ask for a suspension of the rules to allow the Director of Facilities who helped come up with this plan to address us?
Sure. Any objection? Seeing none?
Thank you very much for hearing our petition tonight. My name is Bob Monk. I represent the Peabody Essex Museum. And to the issue of the 14-foot dimension, that is currently established by the placement of permanent bollards that exist on the street that direct what service traffic there is in that area down the middle of the street. So I just wanted to make that clear. I know the drawings are somewhat difficult to see in that regard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, on Councilor Fumiko's motion for approval, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further petitions.
We have a request from the residents of Larchmont Road, from Beechmont Road to Claremont Road, to hold a block party on Saturday, October 15th from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this be granted.
Councilor Gerard moves this be granted. Under discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual block party. We're holding it a little later this year, and as usual, we're just blocking off Larchmont between Claremont and Beechmont, so there will be access around.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Gerard's motion for those to this be granted, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further petitions.
We have a list of license applications for public guides, taxi cabs, and taxi operators.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move they be granted.
Councilor McCarthy moves they be granted. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Councilor McCarthy's motion these be granted. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further petitions.
We have one tag day for Salem High School gymnastics.
Councilor McCarthy.
Move that the matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor McCarthy moves this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On Councilor McCarthy's motion this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further petitions.
We have 6 claims.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that these matters be referred to the Committee on License, Orders, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor McCarthy moves this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Councilor McCarthy's motion these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending Chapter 24, Fences and Miscellaneous Provisions by adding Section 24-29, Proctor's Ledge.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor McCarthy moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
As a reminder, this is the ordinance with regard to Proctor's Ledge, and obviously with the month of October, we're just hoping that this additional enforcement will help some of the late night, curtail some of the late night activities that may or may not happen there. And at this point, I defer to the Ward 4 councilor who brought it in.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Mr. President. In complete accord with the OLA chair, I would just add that actually my understanding is that the signs, actually the $300 signs, are actually already up.
Nice.
Because we already had first passage, and they were taking our public safety and took full advantage of that, and so they're already up. So now we can enforce it.
Any further discussion on Councilor McCarthy's motion for adoption for second and final passage? All those in favor? All those opposed? So moved. Further unfinished
We
business.
have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75, resident sticker parking, Preston Road.
Counselor Dibble.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Counselor Dibble moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
I think you all be aware that this is a result of Salem State College Central Campus dormitory students being forced, because they have no place else to park out in the residential neighborhoods. So I'm continuing to work with the university to find more parking for them on campus and to support that measure. But in the meantime, we need some relief for the neighbors. This is just for the first block of Preston Road between Jefferson Avenue and Sumner Road. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Counselor Dibble's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 74, towing zone, Raymond Avenue.
Counselor Gerard.
Nope. Raymond.
Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead by mistake. Counselor Dibble, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Counselor Dibble moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No.
Being no further discussion on Counselor Dibble's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business. Now, Counselor Gerard.
Second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking repeal, Dearborn Street.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Counselor Gerard moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Counselor Gerard's motion for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking, Upham Street.
Counselor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Counselor Gerard moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On Counselor Gerard's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 49, obedience to isolated stop sign, Wilson Road.
Counselor Lovely.
Second and final passage.
Counselor Lovely moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On Counselor Lovely's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking, Allen Street.
Counselor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Counselor McCarthy moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion, Mr. President.
Counselor McCarthy's motion for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75, resident sticker parking, Fairview Avenue.
Counselor McCarthy.
This isn't mine, but, yes, it is. Move for it's not my street, but when it came in as an order through committee. I believe it was for a trial period, so that's why it's in front of me. Thank you.
Okay.
I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor McCarthy moves for adoption.
Ward 7 Council.
Councilor McCarthy moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion. Accept.
But we have some discussion. Councilor Dibble. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to be clear that this is not a trial period. This is a permanent request for Fairview Avenue.
Thank you. On Councilor McCarthy's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 51, parking prohibited, repeal Fairview Avenue.
Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption second and final passage.
Councilor Dibble moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
This is just a housekeeping measure to clear up an ordinance from, I think, the 60s and the 70s, two different ordinances. And no other comments.
On Councilor Dibble's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking, Beckett Street.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor McCarthy moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion, Mr. President.
On Councilor McCarthy's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished
We
business.
have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking, repeal Congress Street.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor McCarthy moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion, Mr. President.
Councilor McCarthy's motion for second and final passage. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 11, bus stops, Holyoke Square.
Councilor Famico.
Mr. President, I move for second and final passage.
Councilor Famico moves for adoption for second and final passage. Under discussion.
Yes, Mr. President. So, as had been mentioned before, prior to us the first time voting on these spots, as this was supposed to be done back in May, we had looked at these locations. The reason not reaching out to 24 Norman, and I do apologize to the residents there, is I had looked at Riley Plaza at that time and continue to look there now. From the 1984 zoning board decision for when 24 Norman was converted, the last item in there is that the zoning board of appeal voted 4-1 to grant the variances requested, provided that each occupied unit is required to pay an annual fee to the Salem Parking Commission for each motor vehicle registered to each occupant, in return for parking privileges at Riley Plaza. So had examined it, and then I continue to go now on the nights, weekends, I've checked every time. You can all go down to yourself. There's been no shortage of about 40 spots in that lot that the zone passes for doing that. But I do apologize for not telling you prior. I know that we had also heard from a business owner, and I'd just like to read, and I'll submit this for the record as well. The final line to emails I sent him last Saturday was, "I hope we can tackle correcting parking in your stretch. Do you think changing some of the 15 and 30-minute spots to longer time periods could help your business out? Let me know." Unfortunately, over the weekend, my nephew is 6 years old. He had pneumonia. My parents are away. I was helping out with him, so I was unable to meet with that business owner. I did email him again earlier today, once again putting that request out to him. If you look on Gedney Street now, it's 15-minute spots, it's 30-minute spots, and what we've found out is some of those spots are getting taken at 6 a.m. and they're continuing to be occupied later in the day. We do need to fix that. I've previously requested the parking department to look into it. I'll be requesting that again. And then I hope us as the council that we can look into that stretch in general to be fixing some of this. Gedney Street, that one legal spot wasn't painted till about a week ago. Prior to it being painted, we had one truck that had out-of-state plates that was parked there for about 4 days. The police ticketed it every day. They ended up towing it. One of our local bloggers also received some notes online about these spots, saying we're taking away from the residents. If you actually looked at who these people were that were responding, they worked out on Crombie Street. They were arriving first thing in the morning. It was the closest spot to downtown. As even our Destination Salem director earlier said, it's the closest place, it's not metered, and that's what's happening. Do I think we need to look into that area and figure out what's going on? Yes. And I know there was also a question about a handicap spot. That was a resident of the building. And while some things with changing, for example, earlier with Domino's changing the time, there's a requirement that the city has to send out a notice for that, but that's with that particular spot in question. But I do move forward for this. I'm more than happy to re-examine the bus spots after we give them a try. But let's give it a try, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then we can come back together and come up with a plan, and maybe it's going to be a different location, and maybe some of the people in the very neighborhood have some other ideas that we didn't even think of. But if we can just try this out, see what works and what doesn't, and make some adjustments to some of that parking in the area in general, I'd be very happy if we could do so. But I do move for second and final passage. Thank you.
Further discussion, Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respect the good Ward 2 councilors' comments here, but we voted months and months ago for 2 bus parking spots to go in there, and we never gave it a try. We never painted for it, we never put the signs up until recently. And then we jumped from 2 spaces to 3 or 4 spaces, depending on what the size the buses are. And therefore eliminating quite a bit of parking. I received no less than 6 emails in opposition to this measure, and 1 phone call in opposition, which I was surprised to get a phone call about it from somebody I did not know. So I rise in opposition to this. I think it's bad we're taking away needed parking from some of the businesses that are right there and some of the residents that live right there. So I guess I move for a roll call vote in opposition.
Any further discussion? Well, first of all, show of hands for roll call vote. Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Sargent.
I'll be brief, but I also rise against this for reasons I spoke last time, but I also got some calls from residential people throughout the neighborhood, not just the condos downtown, that where their guests park there. They have residents sticker parking, and they also, it's kind of tight there also. But I know Riley Plaza, just as the parking garages are full during the snowstorms, and our parking pass holders don't always get into the parking garage, especially in the month of October. People with passes for Riley Plaza parking lot can't always find a space in that parking lot, especially when they come home. I was by there at 11 o'clock last night, and the place was jammed. And I know a few people who work second shift and don't get home till midnight, and they have difficulty And there's not a lot you can do about that, no matter what time of year it is. If the space is full, it's full. But these spaces were people that, guests use, people coming and going use, and they're 2 hour. They're marked 2 hours. So if somebody is parking too long for whatever reason, no matter who they are, they're supposed to get a ticket. They weren't metered yet, but they were 2 hour parking. And the other thing is, I went out there with four other councilors with the measuring tape, and we measured out the 80 feet, and unless you get one of them large tour buses, you can fit 2 in there. And with all due respect to Destination Salem and Kate, we're going to find, during the course of October, we're going to find that spot with 2 buses in it, and then a bus in the other one, or two school buses. So there's going to be a day when we'll have 4 buses there, when we're looking for 2 spaces. And I would like to have had a chance to try this the way we passed it before we changed it again. So, thank you.
Councilor Fury.
Mr. President, fellow members, when a baby is born in the city of Massachusetts, city of Salem, they're born with a Social Security number. But when a baby is born in Salem, they're not born with a parking spot. Neither is a business born with a parking spot in front of them. I had my hair done in the town of Winthrop, Mass. If you think Salem is in difficult parking, in downtown Winthrop, employees are parking blocks and blocks away. Taxis are coming into hair salons, and different places in downtown Winthrop, and they're dropping off their clients. So Salem is not the only one that has a parking problem. We're lucky, actually, we have a parking problem. We're fortunate that we're a busy, thriving city. And we're going to be more busy when the Holyoke building is opened up with a new business. So it's exciting times to live in Salem. So I strongly support this recommendation by the ward councilor. So it's a very positive solution. Thank you very much.
Councilor Fury?
Please. Councilor Giuliano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am in support of this at this point. I've been working a lot with the Ward 2 councilor on looking into the various parking issues that are in that neighborhood. I'm a former resident of that neighborhood. I lived in a condominium at 10 Norman Street for 2 years before we purchased our house. I worked at the Holyoke for 5 years. I know about the parking issues in general in that neighborhood. I frequent businesses in there as well. Parking is most certainly an issue, and a good friend of mine was a former condo owner at 24 Norman Street some years ago, and 24 Norman Street has the parking requirement at Riley Plaza. That's at the Riley Plaza parking lot. That's part of how their condominium operates, part of their deeds. People have been able to park on the streets at various times. We have had, obviously, as the Ward 2 councilor has noted, we've had significant enforcement issues in that neighborhood. We have a number of spaces that are intended to be short-term parking, 15-minute and half-hour spaces that, first off, they don't serve the needs to most visitors in that neighborhood. If somebody's going to come to the salon to get their hair done, they're going to be there for significantly longer than a half an hour unless they have as little hair as I do. If they are parking in that neighborhood for anything other than going to the post office, it's just not really enough. Steve's Market has a parking lot, and they have the unmetered short-term parking right in front to handle their visitors, but we don't really have anything. And the Ward 2 councilor does now want to go and work on coming up with better parking solutions for that neighborhood as a whole. I think that's something that we do need to do. I think that's an effort that I look forward to her beginning after this season goes forward, and I think we can come up with better solutions. And maybe after this tourist season is over and after we go into the winter, maybe there are other solutions that we can do for part of the season with those bus spaces as well. Maybe the bus spaces can be ultimately limited time or just available during the peak months of September, October. There's a lot of different options we can do, but to figure this out in the long term and to figure out a real permanent solution to this, I know that the Ward 2 councilor is very committed to making this happen, and at this point I am prepared to move forward and pass this for second passage. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for second and final passage by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. President, just to confirm, a yes is to move
For second and final passage, and a no is against it. Correct.
Counselor Dibble?
No.
Counselor Epley?
Yes.
Counselor Famiko?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Gerard?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
No.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Milo?
No.
Counselor Ryan?
No.
Counselor Sargent?
No.
Counselor Terrio?
Yes. On the motion for second passage of the ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 11, bus stops Holyoke Square, 11 councilors voting, 6 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The matter carries. Councilor Famiko.
I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it does not prevail.
Councilor Famiko moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. The matter does not carry. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 57A, parking time limited, unmetered zones, Lafayette Street and Ocean Avenue.
Councilor Gerard?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Gerard moves for adoption for second final passage. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Mr. President, I would just note for the record that Councilor Lovely has left the room for the purpose.
So noted. On Councilor Gerard's motion for adoption for second and final passage, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Councilor Fury.
Just point of personal privilege, I know everyone that's on Code Red already got it, just so everyone knows the motorcycle ride that comes to town did get moved to this upcoming Sunday. It goes down Lafayette Street and onto Derby, just so everyone at home is aware of that. So if you want to see it, come on down, and if you hate motorcycles, stay on away.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a moment of personal privilege, just to say on Saturday at 9 a.m. is the Witch City 5K. Sorry that none of the rest of you will be there.
So noted. Any further points of personal privilege? Seeing none, Councilor Fury.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Councilor Fury moves to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.